What's going on, guys? We are here for another great episode of the Fantasy Heat Check with my boy Cody. What up, bro?
Look, I don't know where it is that you are right now that you sent me that picture of like 100-degree heat, but absolutely get me the hell out of there. But yeah, the heat check is back for another week of some fantasy goodness. And LQ, I do want to take this time to get out ahead of things. I would just like to apologize for whooping your ass in the fantasy league that we just drafted this weekend. I know we've had a really good relationship, so I just want to get ahead of the ass whooping that you are about to receive.
See, everybody, I don't think people know that you do stand-up comedian stuff on the side. That's your daily.
Yeah, it's on my TikTok, which has 0 videos, so follow my comedy there.
I love the energy, man. Jesus. But the draft, we're going to talk about the draft. We're going to get a little recap in. But before we get into that, everybody that's watching, make sure you guys are liking and subscribing. Make sure you hit that like button on YouTube right now. Your boy's almost at 1K. Get me to 1K, please. Before the season starts, can I get 1K? Please, 1K subscribers.
Monetized.
Please.
We got to buy food. More
for
important,
real,
I got to pay for league dues.
League dues for real. That is the big one. But so we had the subscribers draft. This is the second annual one. You know, we kept, a few faces in there that we know, like, me, you, of course, Drew's in there, Ty, the whole RDF crew's in there as well. And then we got some of the subscribers that are in there. So the draft overall, my first take on it, like how I feel about how the draft went, I feel like I got my guys, and I feel like I got, some players that are on the questionable, but I really feel like overall I came out with an A++. So that's just how I feel.
I hate drafting in leagues where like guys know what we're doing. And especially for like the guys who create content on the RDF team are very, very good at what they do. So like they're very good at fantasy. And then the rest of the subscribers, like they watched the show. Like we had a show about how much I love Dak Prescott, and then like that, you know what I mean? Like, so they know like who we are high on. So the amount of times that we get sniped and the amount of times that like our guys get stolen from us, it makes it tough. Which is going to make that feeling of victory all that much better. But it really is like it was a fun league to draft in. The Smack Talk is already pretty up there. It's rolling early in July.
Will and Tyre going back and forth. We got Tom Cat in there. He's throwing his little comedy jabs in there as well. But Will, man, his draft was a little questionable. I was looking at it. We could take a quick peek at it. I don't know if you remember that he basically went like 0 running back by accident. Look at this stuff, man. You cannot make this up. If you look at his running backs, we're looking at Cam Akers, which is great. That's fine. I'm not high on Cam Akers' price, but okay, you got your guy. But then he completely fades for like a good 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rounds.
And there are a lot of running backs in that middle of the pack that I really like. And I really like David Montgomery for the Bears going that late. Chris Carson is a good like back end RB2 that like I really like where he's going. He could absolutely finish in the top like 12. So it's good to see. So our draft was a super flex tight end premium draft. And for those of you who haven't been in a league like that, essentially quarterbacks tend to go off the board pretty early. And you see more tight ends drafted than what you normally do. I don't know if they didn't really like creep up draft boards in our league, which I was kind of surprised about, but we have some really solid rosters. LQ, was there anything that you saw throughout the draft that like that is either a recurring trend that you've seen so far this offseason, something that surprised you, shocked you? Like what's something that you took away from doing this?
I think Ryan Tannehill is still going like undervalued because we still see guys, like Hurts. We still Russell Wilson go before him. Burrow, another one. I think Ryan Tannehill is still being like undervalued, but that's a benefit for whoever ends up landing him because like at the same time, you're looking at the guys that's going before him. a lot of those guys are getting them as QB1s. They're not really like having that QB2. It's not like you're going Dak and then Hurts or Dak and, whatever the case may be, who's the second guy. I'm seeing Jalen Hurts goes to QB1 in Superflex. I'm seeing Russell Wilson be somebody's QB1 in, Superflex. And it's like, all right, cool. Do you, boo-boo.
Yeah, I really like Tannehill's value this year. The Titans defense was something that they kind of masked last year. Like their defense wasn't good. And they added Julio, right? They still have AJ Brown. They're still going to run a ton of play action. Tannehill can move. I know his legs account for a couple fantasy points each week. He's no Lamar Jackson or Jalen Hurts by any means, but like the guy can run. Former wide receiver at Texas A&M, but I think there's a value there to be had in Tannehill, and something that our guy Robbie, if you go back and watch the draft show, we streamed the whole draft. Robbie kind of harped on there's a nice stack that can be had in Tennessee, getting either AJ Brown and Ryan Tannehill, or stacking Julio Jones and Tannehill to really get some points there. If you're a believer in that Titans offense,
either or of those stacks are pretty good. If we had to choose, obviously, I'll probably go with AJ Brown over Julio stack with Ryan Tannehill. Don't ask me why. I just think more so of like the touchdown upside. I think I'll see more touchdowns from Brown than Julio. Not saying, it's a Julio thing when he was with the Falcons or why he wasn't finding the end zone, et cetera. It could be different variables, but I think AJ Brown will probably be the guy that will sneak in to be the red zone target guy. And then Julio obviously going to get doubled by the best corners, et cetera, et cetera. He's still Julio Jones.
Yeah, and I think that the way that they're going to be utilized in that offense is going to be very similar to what existing AJ Brown already does. They actually do have like fairly similar skill sets. They're both great at high pointing the football. They're both great on the deep ball. Two true outside receivers. I'm interested to see who's going to work the middle of the field if they're going to use Fursker in that role. And I know he's going to fill that Jonnu Smith spot at tight end. But that being said, the Tennessee Titans offense, I think, is going to be one that is very, very fantasy friendly. There's a couple guys that I were surprised with how early they went, and a lot of the rookies kind of went earlier than what I thought they would, especially in redraft. Najee Harris went as RB11. I currently have him outside of my top 12. I just don't think that I take a lot of stock into offensive lines. I think that Steelers offensive line stinks. I think they have the worst offensive line in that division, and that's saying something because the Bengals offensive line stinks. I also think it's going to be easier and a lot of Steelers fans might hate me for this, but I think that it's going to be a lot easier to crowd that box against Pittsburgh because I don't think Big Ben has it anymore, right? No. And if Big Ben were to go down and they were to have to lean on either Mason Rudolph or Dwayne Haskins, possibly, that offense is going to struggle. It is going to struggle. So I'm not there with Najee Harris yet. Am I alone in that, or?
You might be. I'm going to follow the volume on this. I think the guy is going to be a complete stud. He's going to be catching passes out of the backfield. And it's like, not saying he reminds me of Le'Veon Bell in talent-wise, but he reminds me of the Steelers leaning on a stud running back like Najee Harris did. So I really feel like he's going to be able to see those targets out of the backfield. He's going to see at least, 5 to 6 targets out of the backfield. We don't know the real number of that because, again, it relies on Big Ben being productive. And I really feel like, this is his last year. Like, I'm pretty sure, I'm almost leaning that he won't finish the season. I mean, obviously bearing like injury and et cetera, but I don't see him airing the ball out. I don't see him throwing like a bunch of 20-yard passes, et cetera. It's going to be very different. It's going to be a very short pass, run heavy offense in my belief. But like you said, that O-line is not good. So it'd be very interesting.
That's something that worries me with this. They're having 3 wide receivers being drafted as like very fantasy relevant.
Yeah.
And a running back going in the top 12. Something's got to give, right? Like I don't think that they have, just from a pure volume standpoint, I don't think they have the ability to
high power offense either. So
and then
them like killing it every single week. It's just going to be.
They also don't want to put up 35 points to win games. Like that Steelers defense is still very, very good, right? Like they're not going to need to score. Like the Bengals might need to score 4 touchdowns a game in order to like think about going 500. The Steelers don't have that problem.
That may be something we see though. 4 touchdowns a game and still be, competitors somewhat in the game. You might lose by 3, by 10. I'm not saying your defense is completely booty, but you'll make the game look watchable. Let's put it like that. It's going to be exciting to watch the Bengals this year. You got to hype your team up, man. I can't do it every single week.
Look, they're going to be exciting. Don't get me wrong. They're going to be exciting. And for fantasy purposes, I am very excited. From a winning football game standpoint, they still have a lot of work to do. But winning football games and winning your fantasy league don't necessarily go hand in hand. And speaking of, are there any guys that you saw that you're like, wow, that team sucks, but he's going to be a lot of value?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we can go back to Will's team. You know what I mean? But let's not pick on Will this show. But I really like, how far not T. Higgins falling, but in the 7th round on Robbie's team, I feel like I would have saw T. Higgins go a little bit earlier where I've been seeing him in some other drafts. But the 7th round T. Higgins, I like it. It's a good placement. I really feel like, Robbie has a nice little squad going on. It's very balanced. I think he can use a little work on his tight ends because he's hoping that Gronk will pop off and Clement. Maybe. These are all question marks. I think Gronk will give you like a top 8, maybe at 8. You know what I mean? So I'm not really banking on his tight ends too much.
Yeah, I think the ceiling is kind of limited with Gronk. He's a guy that I'm staying away from in redraft and dynasty. He doesn't really have a bunch of value, but he's a guy that I'm absolutely staying away from in redraft. I just don't think I think he's being drafted at his peak, right? He's being drafted around that 8-9 tight end range, and I think that's the best that he finishes. And I know there's 100% chance that he is going to either miss time or be limited. The dude's body takes a beating. And while I don't think the talent is obviously there, Gronk is still an absolute stud. The offense doesn't have to run through him like it did up in New England. So I think he's being drafted at his peak. He's a guy that I'm staying away from. There are a handful of tight ends that I like their upside better. Robert Tonyan is a guy that we've talked about before, Jonnu Smith, but those are guys that are being drafted below him that could absolutely surpass that kind of range.
So where he took Gronk at was at the 9-5, and then you have guys that are on the upside, like you said. You have that same round, you have Logan Thomas going. I mean, Tonyan with the round above, but that's because he has to get some type of talent on this team, so he had to do that. But I feel like Gronk is a guy, like you said, that you need to stay away from. He's not really a tight end one every single week. You could possibly just stream a tight end. That's really what the equivalent is, especially with a full season with Antonio Brown. That's not being looked at as serious. I don't understand why. Antonio Brown is still Antonio Brown.
Yeah, and I think they have the best the Dallas Cowboys is up there, but the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have the best 3 wide receivers in the NFC for sure.
It's crazy.
Yeah, could you pull the teams up again?
Yes, sir.
There's a couple guys that I want to talk about that I'm just curious as to where they went, and I wanted to make sure. Wide receivers kind of drop late in a super flex, and that's because there is a lot of depth. But there are a couple that I was really surprised as to where they went. Terry McLaurin going at the 412 is something that I found very, very interesting. It's a little early from a where I thought he would be drafted standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
But I could see Terry McLaurin popping into the top 10 this year. And I know Chad Ochocinco has gone out and said, look, Ryan Fitzpatrick changes that offense. They are absolutely going to have some incredible upside there. How are we feeling about Terry McLaurin? And then Curtis Samuel went at the 11-5 Rumble. Robbie drafted a good team. I hate him. God damn.
I mean, like you said, he's going to finish at least top 12, top 15. I got him in the top 15. I really feel like, Fitzpatrick is going to air it out. He's not going to really care about who's down there. Somebody's down there. Somebody's going to catch it. and most likely it's going to be Terry McLaurin. And then Curtis Samuel, you add him to that mix. He's a playmaker as well. He can do jet sweeps, screens, et cetera, et cetera. We've seen what he did last season. I really feel like him coming over there is another great additional, a great weapon for Fitzpatrick to use, but I don't see him inside the top 15. I see him like more of like top 25-ish. And I mean, I really feel like, at the 412 spot for Terry McLaurin, it might feel a little expensive for me, but you're just predicting the future that he's going to be finishing inside the top 15. That's all I look at that as.
Yeah, that offense is something that I don't know if I'm higher on it than the consensus, but I think there's a lot of value to be had in Washington, because I think you kind of think of the last year as like, oh, that team wasn't incredible. They were absolutely led by their great defense. Yeah. But Ryan Fitzpatrick is absolutely an improvement at quarterback. Then they went out, drafted De'Ami Brown, and brought in Curtis Samuel. Logan Thomas is back, Terry McLaurin, and then Antonio Gibson gets his second year. He had 33 carries in college, and then he was a great running back for them last year. So he's only going to improve. I am high on that Redskins the Washington football team offense. I drafted Ryan Fitzpatrick as my quarterback too. He's a guy that if I'm punting on in redraft leagues, like if I am absolutely going to wait on quarterback, and you saw that, like I took Prescott with my first pick and then I waited, I am trying to get my hands on Fitzpatrick in as many places as I can. There aren't that many offenses that really have better weapons than what they do in Washington now. And I understand it's a young offense, but they are absolutely talented. And Fitzpatrick's going to sling it. Now, if you have really bad interception negatives, you might not want to take a risk on him, because Fitz is a
it's like negative six for our league. But
yeah.
You sweating already? It's -6 for our league.
Oh, bro, what?
I'm lying.
Bro, we were about to fight.
Straight up rage quit.
Yeah, no kidding.
As you just said that. I mean, I like your team though. I love the Dak and CeeDee Lamb stack, and then you got Keenan Allen. That was just stud. And then Brian Ayuk, he's okay. And then I like Devontae Smith, volume. You got a lot of volume guys that are going to be seeing the ball a ton. I do not like your running backs though. Can we touch on that real quick?
Okay, so I love Austin Ekeler. I think that he finishes right about where I drafted him, in that top 8 running back range.
Yeah.
And then after Ekeler went, right, Chubb, Jones, Harris, Akers, Gibson, Mixon. Yeah. I think there's an absolute drop off after that. From a tier standpoint, I think there's absolutely a drop off. And
for sure.
A lot of those guys in that middle ground don't really spark my fire. You know what I'm saying? Like it's hard to get excited about a lot of guys. I was hoping that I was going to be able to get David Montgomery or Chris Carson, but unfortunately they were taken like right before. So I did kind of punt on the running back position. Got a little depth. We'll see where it takes me. If one of those guys can take control of their backfield, I think I'll be fine. But I feel really good about my wide receiver room with Keenan Allen, Brandon Ayuk, Devonta Smith. I am not worried about wide receiver the rest of the draft. If David Johnson can either stay the front runner in Houston, or James Conner can take over the Arizona role, I feel confident in my running backs. They aren't going to win me weeks, but as long as they don't lose me weeks, I will absolutely take that. And that's what I need for the way I constructed my roster. That's what I need.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to say you're like one injury away from like the bottom. Just saying.
Look, buddy. Hey, it's a long season, all right? We will be putting out content all season long about waiver pickups and trades and all that kind of stuff. It is a long season, so don't you worry your head, little LQ.
All my team's been looking good, man. I got to say, I haven't had one miss yet, like just straight up miss. I'll be surprised if I don't win majority of my leagues this year. I'm just say that.
Hey, and that is the fire content that you get from the Real Deal Fantasy crew. We win our league.
I definitely think our league is going to be very entertaining week to week, like keeping the subscribers and listeners up to date of what's going on. Because already the chat is like buzzing off, like in the sleeper chat. Like people are talking trash, talking smack, and the people need to see this.
It is, and that's what makes fantasy football fun, and that's part of like I kind of poke fun at fantasy Twitter every now and again for taking themselves a little too seriously, because at the end of the day, like, we are trying to predict the future while playing fake football. It is just absolutely absurd to when you think about it, right? But at the end of the day, like, that's people play it for fun. A lot of people play it for money. We try to be competitive and we keep it fun. And that's exactly what our league is. It's going to be a lot of fun. But it's a lot more fun when you win. So that's what we're going to try to do. Was there any guys that like you saw that like really kind of like dropped a lot further than you thought they went or thought they were going to go?
I feel like there's a couple guys, right? So it's a super flex, tight end premium, so therefore that changes some things up. Mm-hmm. So looking at it, it's like, all right, well, you have, Julio Jones on a new team or whatever. Ty took him as his wide receiver 2 with Ridley, which is great. But I felt like, I didn't think, Thielen, Cooper, or any of these guys, Woods, Kupp, I didn't think any of those guys would fall in the 6th, 7th round, where I was able to pick up, basically Adam Thielen for free, because after you see Kupp, Woods go by, you see, Julio Jones go by, and then you're like, man, who's left? And then, you get lucky. But I expected those guys to at least go a whole entire round before. But you guys were just switching it up. You guys were keeping it very entertaining.
Well, and you talk Thielen, and like Woods was a guy, he went as wide receiver 18. Yeah. If we are like a lot of people in the fantasy community, and I'm one of them, are very high on Matthew Stafford. If we're high on Matt Stafford, we got to be high on his pass catchers. I think Woods can absolutely blow wide receiver 18 out of the water. People don't realize he's wearing number 2 now. That is way faster. The number 2, bro, that's speed. You got speed.
That's like stitching on the jersey, bro. Just straight speed. Like you said, nail on the head. If we're high on Stafford, we got to be high on his pass catchers, because, man, Robert Woods year after year is a guy that outperforms his ADP. He falls into that category of people. So we got to give him his respect. Wide receiver 18 is crazy. Why didn't he go in the top 15, maybe even the top 10? Nah, I'm lying. But maybe the top 15 for sure.
Yeah, I don't think he has top 10 upside, but like, top 15. I would.
Cooper Kupp might be the one, because Cooper Kupp went right before him. So he may have top 10 upside.
I think Kupp is just like a little bit better in the red zone. He's just a little sneakier in the red zone.
He's in the slot too as well. So it only makes sense. It only makes sense. He's going to see a lot of touchdowns. He's probably going to go back to when he put up like 10, 12. He's going to be in that range, where he finished wide receiver 5. So I can definitely see that happening again if Stafford's hitting on all cylinders.
Yeah, I hope so. And for your sake, as a Rams fan, I absolutely hope so. But another guy that I was kind of surprised dropped a little bit was Gaskin, Myles Gaskin of the Miami Dolphins. He went as running back 25, and I was just like, don't get me wrong, he doesn't blow you away. Like, he is not a guy that really like blows the brakes off of you.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like RB25, they added Malcolm Brown, right? Yeah. Like, I don't really think they added a whole hell of a lot to that running back room. No, he was their lead back last year. And if that offense improves like I think it should, I mean, they brought in weapons to stretch the field, right? They drafted Jalen Waddle, who should absolutely stretch the field, and they brought in Will Fuller, who should stretch the field. Both of those guys are burners. Yeah. So if you think that offense is going to be a little bit more spread out, I think that gives more opportunity to Gaskin. And there's not really much competition for touches. So I think Gaskin can absolutely blow RB25 out of the water. I think he could be a top 20 running back.
I agree. Well, I really feel like he has that upside. I really think it's his job. And I really feel like, Malcolm Brown, he brings in some type of, red zone presence. I really feel like, he'll be the goal line back. He's not exactly little. He's a big body back. So I could see him taking that Jordan Howard role where Jordan Howard had like 3 touchdowns for 3 yards. It was something like that.
Something ridiculous.
Yeah, so I really feel like he plays that role, but all around, I think Gaskin, he has that upside. He could be a guy that can sneak up on a lot of people that be like, whoa, where did this come from? He could have some pretty nice weeks, But him to fall that far, I am a little surprised because Mike Davis went before him as well. So that's like a little toss up in the air with both their upsides, with their both situations. I really feel like because Mike Davis, I'm not really like too high on, but I think his price, at least in our draft, was fair.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how he's used with Arthur Smith coming in from Tennessee to be the new head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. I'm interested to see how that offense looks if they use a lot of play action and use a lot of those same scheme fits that they used in Tennessee. Now, Mike Davis is not Derrick Henry. So it'll be interesting. I think there's a middle ground there where you have to kind of mitigate your expectations a little bit and be like, yeah, they're going to use him, but he's not Derrick Henry. They're not going to give him the ball 24 times a game.
No, absolutely not, which is nuts because, Mike Davis is a decent running back. I really feel like if they use him, how they used, God damn it, Troy.
Troy's my man.
Thursday content only. Give me your phone, bro.
Hey,
but back to Mike Davis. I think his price was like fair in our league. Like I said, long as his like ADP isn't like going crazy in other leagues that we have upcoming leagues coming in, I think I'm good. I think some camp height will, be the reason why it will creep up. But I think Mike Davis in our league went, where he should have went.
Bro, they just get another picture of his quads out there. He might, shoot up into first round.
Yeah, shout out to Saquon. He went from RB4 to RB4.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like, nah.
I love it.
Zeke shredded too.
Yeah, that always blows my mind every offseason. You get the pictures of the guys working out, and they're like, wow, dude, look how incredible they look while working out. It's like, yeah, they're some of the best athletes on the planet. Of course, they're going to look better than – yeah, they're going to look better than the guy next to you at the YMCA, man. They are some nuts. freak athletes. I don't understand
how any of those pictures like move any needle for anybody. Like, oh my God, they're in shape during football season. Yeah, that's what they get paid to do.
Hey, at least they're doing the hot guy summer though, and I gotta respect it.
Summer.
Yes.
Oh my
Big
God.
quad fall, baby. That's what we're looking for. I'm gonna start a hashtag a la Troy, big quad fall. We're gonna post. We're posting quads in the fall this football season.
A quad competition of the fantasy Twitter.
Oh gee, just a flex off at the fantasy football convention in August.
Yeah,
but
it's a flex off.
Let's move on from the recap of the subscriber league. We have some mailbag questions from you guys that we wanted to answer, and you guys did an incredible job this week asking questions, tweeting at us, letting us know if you guys have any fantasy questions that you want to ask us. Shoot us a tweet, shoot us a DM, shoot us a comment on the YouTube. We will absolutely answer those questions because we are the people's fantasy podcast, a la The Rock. We are the Rock of fantasy football. Some people have said that. So we're here for you. LQ, what is the first question that we've got from the fantasy mailbag?
This was from the Twitter space on the post that we posted, but this is an interesting one. Keep trade cut. Chris Herndon, Mike Williams, and Tyler Higbee. Keep trade cut. I'll let you go first because you already know how I feel about this. Go ahead.
Look, we both can agree on who we're cutting. Right? Yeah. Like Chris Herndon's gone?
Gone.
Okay. Look, he hasn't you can only give a guy so many chances. I'm not drafted. There's
nothing.
We just drafted a 12-team Superflex tight end premium league, and he wasn't drafted. So
undrafted. Because people know this is it. It's over. Done deal.
So I don't know how I feel about this.
I love it.
Right. I know where I think I know how you stand. And I'm gonna actually because I'm a noted Mike Williams hater.
Well documented.
But at the same time, Hunter Henry is gone, and Hunter Henry took a lot of red zone targets. And Mike Williams has not been great so far in the NFL. He's been good, but not great. But he has been pretty decent at catching a jump ball. And can he do that? I'm gonna keep Mike Williams. I'm gonna trade Tyler Higbee, and I'm gonna cut Chris Herndon. And that's only because Higbee, at best, is a bottom 10 tight end. At best.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I agree with you. obviously cut Chris, keep Mike Williams, and I'm trading Tyler Higbee just because there's always a hype train. There's always somebody out there that's like, give me all the Tyler Higbee shares. Give me Tyler Higbee. Baby Gronk. Yes, that is real. Somebody called him Baby Gronk. And I just don't understand it. I don't know what they saw. I don't understand. It's like we watched the Rams offense for the past X amount of years. Our tight ends don't become a focal point unless a ton of people are injured. And the only 5 games that keep getting brung up, this is the shortest taste test we ever had in our life for this guy to be a top 10, tight end. And it's insane. It's literally insane. And I really get real passionate about it because it's my guy. I'm a Rams fan, and I hate to see people just drafting irresponsibly because we're the show for the people.
Now, that being said, I don't. Now, here's the thing, Manny. I don't actually hate Tyler Higbee. I don't hate him, and I
don't hate him either. I just hate the hype train. Leave him alone. Stop talking about it.
But there's absolutely a chance that he could show out a little bit. If that Rams offense is supposed to pass like they think they are, then there's a chance Gerald Everett's gone, so he's going to get a higher percentage of your tight end snap shares. Is that enough to make him fantasy relevant? No. That I do not know. In standard redraft leagues, leave him on a bench. You could add him in waivers if he goes off.
I'm on the Twitter feeds destroying the hype train with simple trends, simple math, simple things that we know and saw. We're seeing Robert Woods 3 years in a row get 130 plus targets. When Cooper Kupp was healthy, he was seeing at least 120 targets. That wide receiver 3 between Josh Reynolds and Van Jefferson last season saw over 100 targets. So therefore, there's not enough targets on the week-to-week basis for Tyler Higbee to be fantasy anything relevant. Like I said, he'll have his game. He'll have those games where he'll be having big numbers. He did it last year. Here's the thing. 9 times out of 10, he's on your bench doing that because 3 weeks before that, he put up 3 points. So why would you deal with this headache?
Yep. He absolutely struggles with consistency for sure. What we got next, LQ? What's the next question?
Next question. This one is coming from the Twitter streets as well. So this question was, how high is too high to draft Kyle Pitts in redraft? I like what you said offline. You can say it again.
Yeah, I'm going to take him at the 1.01.
That is way too high. But in all seriousness, I think Kyle Pitts is going to have probably a historical year for tight ends, et cetera, et cetera. Probably going to break the trend. But for redraft, man, I'm thinking anything above the 4th, maybe the 5th round. I mean, what's his current ADP right now? It's kind of weird because in our league, you took him where? In the 4th round, 3rd round?
Yeah, I took him in the 3rd or 4th round, I believe. You'd have to pull that up. I'm not 100% sure.
No, you did. Took him at 3.9.
Okay, so I took him at the back end of the 3rd round, but that also is a tight end premium league. Yeah. Right. So in a standard league, I am not taking
the 6th round. Let's say the 6th round. Anything
here's the deal. The other tight ends have to go off the board first, right? Your other top 3, Kels, if that's how he pronounces his name. That kind of blew up Twitter a little bit. That was weird. Kelsey, Kittle, and Waller all have to be gone before you start drafting Kyle Pitts. He is currently going, according to Fantasy Pros, his ADP is currently at 68. He's being drafted as tight end 6. He's going after guys like T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, right before guys like Chase Claypool and Mike Davis.
Okay. That's not bad.
I think that's right where he should be because I think I'm high on Kyle Pitts, right? Yeah. I had him as my tight end 5. So I think that's a good spot. Honestly, I think he's kind of being drafted right where he should be. 6th round. I have no problem with that. Take him in the 6th.
I think we both can agree. The 6th round, that's fine. Anything above that, you might be questioning yourself because you're missing out on some good value or some good, guys just simply there. I don't want to go all in on a position I only need one of, especially if it's a regular old PPR redraft league. I don't only need one tight end for the entire year, so I'm not going to try to invest that high unless it is the big three, something that we have on, noted film historically with Kels, Waller, like we know these guys are going to ball out year after year. Travis Kelce or Kels, has not missed a heartbeat. So it's like, I don't know about Pitts. I'm not going all in on the first year. He's basically on my list of like, guys that I'm not going to talk about this summer because CH was that guy last summer and he kind of proved everybody wrong. You shouldn't be going in the first round.
And that's the thing. Like, I'm not going to reach for Kyle.
Yeah, I'm not
reaching. I like where I took him in our draft, but like So, and that's what I'm worried about is somebody's going to like, there might be a guy in every league that takes him in the 4th round. And like, that's okay. I'm not willing to go that high.
Good. I really hope he does good. I really hope, he finishes, inside the top 7. Let's put it there. I really hope he
fun
does
to watch.
Yeah, of course. Next one. What are your top long shot picks this season that you believe are not getting enough hype? I didn't really think about this one, but I'll let you go if you got something off the head.
Okay, so I'm going to just kind of off the dome, just like kind of back of my head, a guy that I've kind of been thinking about for a little bit, Antonio Brown. Like, I really don't think that we're talking enough about how, like, his talent isn't gone. There's obviously an off the field risk that you always have. I think he'll be fine with Brady. He came in the middle of the season last year and he was fantasy relevant the entire duration of that run. There's no reason that he should be going as late as he is. I know it's not super, super late, but Antonio Brown is a guy that absolutely could win you his league with where he's going because he's going outside the top 30 wide receivers, right? Like I think he's going wide. He's currently going wide receiver 47.
Nuts.
There's no reason that he should be drafted that low. Zero.
He needs more hype. I really feel like people are really worried about his off-field issues. I mean, of course, there's risk with any player, but I really feel like, what we saw from him being almost like a year like removed from football for him to come in and see that many targets. He saw 13 targets in one game with Mike Evans and Godwin healthy, both on the field. So that lets me know like Brady is campaigning to have him there. He brought him to New England. Now he brought him to Tampa. He made sure he was able to stay in Tampa. So I really feel like, that matters when it comes to, a week-to-week basis. The trust is there and the talent is there. So what are we really like talking about? He needs to be hyped up way more.
Yeah, especially with Brady, trust is a big, big deal. So that's love that.
I know Brady's happy about the wide receiver core. I know he's like really excited.
Long shot. Who you got?
Long shot. You know what? I'm gonna say Jared Goff. I mean, I really feel like he could be. We talked about it a little bit today on the lunch hour. He can end up being a QB 20. He can end up being inside of that 17, 18 because it's like if we're gonna hype up Hawk for his volume, if we're gonna hype up Swift, we go back to this. We're gonna hype up all these guys that are on the offensive and their pieces, their volume. It's there. Why can't Goff be serviceable? They're going to throw the ball a ton, right? They're not going to be able to really do too much with that wide receiver core.
That's the thing. Negative game script. They're going to have a ton of negative game script.
Yeah. So I really think he needs a little bit more respect based on situation. The expectations aren't crazy high for him. He doesn't really have the pressure. He's in a city that's been losing forever. It's not like he's in LA where, the camera's on him, the lights are on him, and you're returning, trying to get back to the Super Bowl. Like that pressure's gone. He kind of can sit comfortable and just do him, just be a serviceable quarterback, just to be a game manager. So I really feel like, he could be inside the 20 or at 20, either way, he'll be a serviceable quarterback that you should be targeting in Superflex as your QB3.
Yep. I love that. Especially where he's currently going. What else we got? You got any other questions?
No, that was the last one.
Maybe.
That was the last one.
Team, we did a great job with questions this week. I appreciate you.
Sir.
Keep asking. Keep firing off your questions to LQ and I. We will answer them on the show every week.
We're what else we got, LQ? We're on Instagram. We're everywhere on the Twitter space. You can literally leave a comment, leave a question on the YouTube, Instagram. You can find us everywhere, man. Just leave a comment. We'll find it, and we'll be answering every single week. But, Cody, I ain't got nothing else, man. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great, but I would be doing better if you guys went I mean, I'm going to harp on it because I feel like a YouTuber now, but go ahead and subscribe to the channel to get all of our best content. We are putting out fire content only. So make sure you're giving us a sub. And that really helps out us. That would be huge. And follow us on Twitter. Yeah, it really does. And give us a like too. That's always fun. It's a thumbs up. The button flashes. It's real cool. Give us one of those. But like LQ said, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at Smash Hit Sports. He's at Real Deal Fantasy, the only fantasy show that you ever need. Actually, I'm not going to say that. There's a lot of good ones out there, but the best fantasy show absolutely is the Fantasy Heat Check.
Yes.
And we will see you guys next week.
See you guys. Peace, love, and happiness.